This is just one man's opinion. Could be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. But she has extraordinary leadership skills. And she's toned down. Not as toned down. Maybe that if we do another webinar, she'll be a little more toned down. But the first two webinars, I looked out at you. You look shell-shocked, like battle fatigue. No such a thing as a management coach. She meant management contract. When you're buying substance abuse or things that require state or country licensing, okay, the easiest one to describe is substance abuse. All the crackheads, etc., they come in there and you try to fix them up. The licenses are transferred normally corporation to corporation. So if you go in and try to buy assets, we haven't talked about buying assets versus stock yet. Ideally, you want to buy assets so you don't have the past, current, and future liabilities. So she's had to buy the corporation in that case. This is the only way for her to get the licenses transferred in 30, 45 days. You try to apply for the license yourself, we'll have two worst case scenarios. One took 2.5 years. Just imagine, you got the business and you're not being able to collect any of the revenue. The second worst case is you're going to hear him. It took 11 months for them to transfer the licenses, but they finally got transferred. You can set up a management contract whereby part of that management contract is you run the business, you collect the revenues, you pay the bills, and you control the bank account. That's what she did. This is business 101. But if you never bought a thing that required governmental approval, transferring government approval to a license, then you're fucked. Guess what? The sellers don't tell you. Now, do they tell you because they're stupid, or do they tell you because you're from Tel Aviv? I don't know. Or they're Egyptian flying on a magic carpet? I don't know. But they don't tell you. But the due diligence list you're going to get, your accountants and the lawyer cover these questions. The penultimate draft of a quality of earnings of a big accounting firm, which the meatheads on YouTube don't get. Why do I now do paper? Because you morons send it to the people. This is what the second to the last quality of earnings. And that's a fancy way of saying due diligence. She said when the accountants do the due diligence, no accounting firm has done due diligence and an audit. General accepted accounting principles, you cannot have fees to an accountant contingent on anything when they're audited. So by definition, they're not auditing. They're doing a quality of earnings, which is this. What you ask the accountants when they're doing due diligence, and due diligence lasts depending on the size of the deal, between 2 and 4 or 5 days. But you make sure that the engagement partner, you tell them, I don't want to know when there's red fucking flags. I want to know when there's an amber or a shaded amber flag. Because you want to be able to go in and poke the seller in the fucking eye, slap him to the ground, and piss on his face and lower the price. Every time there's some sort of flag, you want to knock him down. Now this is when you get vicious. 800,000, you heard that. Did anybody not hear that? QLA is based on lowball, embarrassing offers. We'll call them Egyptian offers or Jewish offers. You want to insult the fucker. Someone in the room will be able to insult them better because they're more adept at it. Because they've been doing it for 6,000 fucking years, wandering the desert. You and Moses. This is about a week before the final quality of earnings, and you can tell the engagement part, is there anything that I can knock the price down based on what? They may not put it in writing, but they will tell you. And then you're on the seller like stink on shit. Remember I said when I get him on the ground, I keep kicking him in the head till his brain losing out. That's what you do. Or somebody on your team better be able to do it. Or you're gonna wind up overpaying for everything. The unfortunate thing about seller finance 100%, because it's seller finance and you're not having to borrow the money from the bank, you're willing to overpay. To a certain extent, we are willing to pay more than we would, but we're not willing to overpay. If you overpay for assets or a business now in Corona, let me go out in the back and cut your throat like a pig and we'll have you for dinner tonight. Now is the time. It is a buyer's fucking market, not a seller's market. You want to beat him like a rented mule. You want to beat him like a stepchild. You want to beat him like you wish you beat your wife. Just coincidentally, her best friend for 25 years, they grew up from high school, is also the same kind of nurse she is. Came to the seminar, one seminar behind her. She's also taller than me. I don't know where they find these broads. Texas girl, farm girls, picking bales of hay up. I don't know how, but they're both big girls. Katie closed her deal. It took her a few months longer than it did the Viking bitch. So we call her Viking bitch too. But it's unheard of to have a board move. Just look at yourself. You're moving your family, your kids. Are you fucking kidding me? Before they done a deal? She got that money. The first time she swept the cash. She drains all the subsidiaries of all the cash once or twice a month. And you heard danlok says you got to check the bank accounts every day. Well, he's got 800 million Chinese midget ninjas. I check the money 4 times a day. Guys, I'm not being racist. This is just the way it fucking is. The Chinese keep 3 sets of books. 3! Which set of books are you buying? Just stay away from Asians. Don't buy anything from them. It's a lot easier. I'm serious. Until you know what the fuck you're doing. They will fuck you for practice. This is the way it is. Is this how they teach at Wharton? No. Is this how they teach at Oxford? No. Is this how it fucking is? Yes. The best truth is when it hurts. And most of my truths hurt, unfortunately. Not for me. I've known this since a little boy because we come from the barrio and nobody had any fucking money. But I've always wanted to know the real shit. The big guys always told me. Now, will they always tell everybody else? I don't know. I can only speak from my experience. All the big icons that I've had the privilege, and it's a privilege to be around and being in business with, they're straight shooters. Way past trying to impress you. You still trying to impress people. people. Well, how's that program worked out for you? It hasn't. I started to say when I was asking you about candy and shit like that, I've never bought a Christmas present, a birthday present, a Valentine's present, anything, ever. Not a candy bar for anybody in my life. I never understood why when you buy cars, sympathy cars and shit like that, so many people buy cars like that. How can a fucking business like that be in existence? Millions of people buy them. Not me. And you've done all the above. A couple of you haven't done this, and then you got some fucking chicken shit. And how's your program worked out? You saw how Steve acted, right? Jobs. Another movie's coming out about Steve. It's the real truth. That's kind of political. Well, if that's political, fuck. Just how rotten of a fucker was he? Pretty rotten. Was he up there with Mussolini and Hitler? Maybe not. But he's at that end of the continuum. Getting back to the young man's question about you got to be pretty much an asshole. You got to have somebody tough. You have to have at least one street fighter on your board, preferably more, that wants to get in there. And the fact that she's gotten these guys to move is incredible. It's beyond incredible. I can't even find words to describe it. But then there's you. It's like Lee Trevino, who in another lifetime I knew. He's been hit by lightning 5 times in his life. Lightning. You know what the odds of getting hit by lightning 5 times are? He can't. On a golf course with a golf club, it's a conductor. The first time he said, was the second time, the third time, and they tell him that it's impossible for you to get hit by. 4th time, the 5th time. Now he does not go out of his house when it's raining. When it happens to you, it's a statistic. When it happens to me, it's 100%. So just because the Viking bitch can do it, 6'2", 225, a female who squats to pee, I could eat her alive. I'd pluck her fucking eyes out and leave her for dead. But that's me. That's not you. Doesn't mean you can do it. Even if you back a mouse into a corner, it fights. Maybe it doesn't fight well. All it takes is one lucky punch. She's a superstar. Most of it comes to seminar. Starting in a hole. First, you got to get out of the hole to make this shit work. One of the things I learned through the mentor program not to do was to get down in the hole with you. Because I know if I get down in the hole with you, I can get you out easy. But you've got to have the confidence that you pulled yourself out of the hole yourself. But you don't want that. You want me to, I can just look at your faces. Oh, bring back the mentor program, Dan. Not ever. You got to do it yourself. But I mean, she's a ballsy broad, and she's done well. And you do know something about the industry like she does. You see extra, as they say in Texas, things that you can do to increase the revenue quickly. So that's the benefit of going into something you know. I don't like that because you sit back on your laurels. If you were so smart in that industry, how come you didn't make any money the first time around? That's how I look at it. So that's why I like people going into the clean. It's advisable. Most of the medical professionals should go in if they're going to use their knowledge to enhance the model. But this is a very hands-on model the first year or two. Hands-on. Andreas Milner is a financial analyst, and that didn't help him rolling up healthcare in Germany. But he knew nothing, just as Gerard knew nothing about dogs. Now, she knows something. All the other people that you listened to, I believe, so far knew nothing about where they went. Guys in the room here are leaning towards doing this in their area of endeavor. That's fine, but it's not magically going to turn to gold if you act the way you've acted heretofore. You got to pull the trigger. She's doing fucking terrific. Post-corona, I'm going to go to Texas. Texas has been good to me. I loved it. I made a lot of money. That's exactly where the crook that went to jail 8 times sat, that asked all the stupid questions, had a bald head just like you. Go ahead.
He's a Jewish?
Yeah, of course.
Also?
Yeah, I mean, why do you think I'm bringing it up? Because he was a fucking Catholic? What's wrong with him? Can you say something in Hebrew to him like he's a moron? The black guy, Anelli. Yes, we know you're black, Anelli. Okay. Okay. There are some black people in the room. The market is crazier in South Africa because nobody's doing this there. I got one white Polak who looks like a Nazi African, and I got Anelli, who's obviously a black guy, and that's it. And what is there, 47 million people there? The bigger the fuck up, the bigger the opportunity, especially when nobody's there. There is literally nobody doing it in South Africa. I don't know about the guys on YouTube. I don't know what they're doing. So there are people, I think, I couldn't swear to it, that are doing this in South Africa, but I don't know them, and I certainly have no input. All they do is they're using the information on YouTube and my website. The deal she was closing was 5.7 million or whatever it was, and there was a 4.7 million, there was a hidden 1.3 million, whatever she was saying. That deal closed. She's already, I believe, doubled free cash flow. Now, when you know what you're doing in the industry, you can double, triple, quadruple cash flow pretty quickly. And if you have the balls to ask your board and just say, I'm stupid, how do I double cash flow in the next 45 days? I've been saying this for 20 plus years. Not one of my students has ever gone to the board and said, I'm stupid, help me, how do I double cash flow in 45 days? Today, if you do, you let me tape it so I can believe you, because it's easy to say, it's hard to do. I'm stupid, please help me double cash flow in the next 45 days. You're not gonna do it. Because then why do they need you? That's what you think. It's a good question. Why do they need you? They don't. Speed bumps, like the speed bumps that are on my driveway, these are not big problems. They're just not. This is bullshit. Nobody's shooting at you. South Africa, they may be, but for the most part, they're not shooting at you. But the money's out there. The business brokers have a conflict. They get paid by the seller, or they're supposed to get paid by the seller. They're only supposed to get paid by the seller, but many of them get paid by other sources. They skew deals. I bring my business. I want $5 million for the business, the broker. I sign a contract for a year. I'm supposed to not be able to talk to anybody else, and he sells it for $6.7 million, and he's only got to give me 5. That's the business broker model. That's it's in the contract. There's nothing you can do about it. And then when you want to stipulate, you share pari passu 100%. They won't sign that contract. Some of you might think, if you're thinking ahead, how do I get a broker, and a broker can kill a deal in a heartbeat. How do you get the broker to promote my deal when it's 100% seller finance and he's not going to get paid a penny? Why would you, as a business broker, promote or sponsor your client selling this business to this guy for seller finance 100% when I'm not going to get paid? You wouldn't, would you? So then you volunteer to pay the broker's fee yourself. You will have a best friend for life. They will name their children after you. You solve the problem of seller finance, not getting paid. How do you pay the professionals, the board? You don't. But everybody, the accountants, the lawyers, and the board all understand not getting paid on a deal or two. It's you that is starving to death, not them. It's you that needs money to pay your rent. It's not them. But after 3 or 4 deals, hey, Joe, I mean, when are we going to get paid? But it's easy to deal with a business broker because you volunteer to pay their fees. But it's disclosed. It's not a Tel Aviv deal like this. It's not a thief crook deal. All disclosed. That's how you stay out of trouble. The broker will ask you, he says, do we have to tell the seller? I guarantee you. And you say yes. For some of you, it'll be harder to not lie. One of the things that's kept me out of jail for 50 years, I don't give a fuck. I tell the truth no matter what. Probably because I got beat bloody half to death by my father 2-3 times for lying. I'm sure that has something to do with it. I'm an honest motherfucker. If a $50 bill, well, you don't have $50. If a $5 bill fell out of your pocket, I chase you 3 blocks down the street to make sure you got it. True story. Also, I'm truthful about deals. Will you bring me the pound? When I tell you you don't have a ghost chance in hell doing the deal, pack up your bags and leave. Oh, Asian baby. Satinder. That's a pound. I bet him £1 million to £1 that he could never do the deal. 1 million to 1. He tried and tried and tried and tried. I said, you wouldn't send me the pound, you cheap, bald fuck. You wouldn't honor your obligation. He slithered off like a snake. He sent me the pound. He sent me the pound. That's me be the most honest Asian I ever met. But it only cost him a pound. If it was 100,000 pounds to $1 million, I would have never heard from him again. If it was 10 pounds to $1 million, I would have never heard from him again. When I tell you that you have no chance, there's more chance there's going to be 29 days in May, like in February, 29 days, than you getting this deal done. The reason why the lawyers and the accountants are charging us so little up front, because they see millions and millions and millions in fees coming. And why would you leave? I would, if service dropped off. But why would you leave a lawyer that only charges $72,000 when you've run up $350,000, $400,000 in bills? Now, some of you would leave, because that's a real asshole to me. With Steve Jobs and I don't consider that being an asshole. But they're lowballing, and they must be senior in their firm, because senior guys can write off shit, doesn't matter. But by the way, all accounting firms, all banks, and all law firms have business development budgets. Business development budgets. That's how they can waste time with you. Vietnamese gangbanger said that, oh, you'll even be prouder of this, Mr. Pena, and he pulls out the largest law firm, blah, 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 and he said that they're going to write the fees off 100% of the first deal, and they're going to make it up 10% additional for the second to whatever deal. They like the kid. They like the deal. How you could love a Vietnamese gangbanger. All his tattoos weren't showing and shit, you know. And by the way, if you have earrings and shit like that, get rid of them. If you have tattoos, cover them up. Wear long sleeve shirts the rest of your fucking life. That dog doesn't hunt. Whoever told whoever that dog hunted was lying. We've had guys in here take that bald head and put a bunch of fucking tattoo marks on his head. I said, unless your hair grown out covers that shit up, you might as well forget about it. You're not going to do anything. Any place, anywhere, never. You understand what I'm saying? But the hair did cover it up by the grace of Allah. But he might as well just, and yet they tell you, free spirit. Now, you can be the beginning of the end for political correctness was a book written in 1969 by a Jewish psychiatrist named Stein. It's I'm okay, you're okay. That was the beginning of the end, because it said whatever you want to do is okay with me, and whatever I do is okay with you. Fuck you. That's not the way life is. That was the beginning of the end of mankind, in my opinion. 1969, he wrote that book. I'm okay, you're okay. On Wall Street in the 70s, we used to say, I'm okay, you're okay, cha-cha-cha, because we knew it was a joke, a fucking joke. Nothing you could ever do is okay with me in this room. It's not that I hate blacks. I hate everybody. I don't like anybody. To me, all you are is problems. I have 3 files in life. Every one of you is right now in the pre-litigation file. And then we'll move to the litigation file and the post-litigation file. Because I'm prepared to sue everybody I ever meet. Everybody. Tim Harris, who's been my lawyer one of my lawyers since 1982, big-time lawyer. I had him sue an ex-priest once that stole $25,000 from an ex-priest. And after 5 or 6 years of litigation, I took his house. I took his mother's house. I bankrupted him. I just beat him to death. Tim is sitting in the office of this guy in New Jersey, and he says, Dan, you'd cry. No, maybe you wouldn't cry. But I mean, I feel like crying seeing what we've done to this guy. What are you talking about, Tim? Let's let him go. Let's let him off the hook. You got to do trial? No. Well, stop fucking him in the mouth when I say so. We beat him 6 more years. Bankruptcy in America, after 7 years, it cleans the books. We waited. We fucking waited like in Vietnam and jumped out to ambush him. As soon as he could get credit again, we were on him to make sure. So he had to file bankruptcy again in the 8th year. I wasn't going to wait another 7 years. But I should have waited another 7 years. His wife had 2 miscarriages, so they said in court. We served her at 3 and 5 in the morning, and that's exactly how these guys are. So how are you going to combat that? But I love beating up on Asians, particularly. Blacks are only 3rd or 4th down the list because I've got 3 million pores in my body. I've been fucked in every pore twice, at least, mostly by Asians. And if you don't know that, it's because you haven't been out in the real world. When we had those 6 guys at the last seminar, they all said, oh God, I mean, we're terrible to people.